Presenting first is Les Jacobson. Les is the principal at LNJ Transportation Consulting, and he will be providing an overview about the challenges faced and why this is such an important emerging topic. Les?
Thank you, Rashad. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about how we can improve TMS performance overall, but specifically through looking at the performance of TMS operators. And it's important to note that this is not assessing performance in order to be vindictive in any way or anything else. It's to provide positive feedback primarily to the operators so that they can see how they can improve performance. And so the managers, the TMS, can see how they can improve their TMS's performance. Some of the benefits, of course, of improving TMS performance are on the screen. I'll just mention a couple. Certainly to improve roadway safety, that includes reduced severity and number of crashes, and also to reduce traffic congestion. But all of these are important. Next slide, please. So again, it's important to assess operator performance, as I mentioned before, in order to improve the overall performance of your TMS. Some other things, though, are it enhances staff morale. It's very important that anyone has their direct supervisor tell them how they're doing, have a conversation about what's going well and what's not. It also improves culture. It improves staff retention. And there are several other things here. I'm not going to go through a list of all of those, but I would say it also helps to identify the capabilities that staff need to develop overall. Next slide, please. So you'll see this this is essential process diagram several times in this, and if you were at the last well, at the December webinar that dealt with determining staff levels, you will have seen this as well. This is essentially a process of how to determine staffing needs overall, staffing approach, and it really ends in how to implement and monitor and evaluate those staff. Next slide, please. So there are several opportunities to assess and improve TMS performance, TMS operator performance. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these. We don't have enough time, but please, when you get these slides, take a look at this more. But a couple that I'll mention, it's really important because or it provides opportunities to build and maintain support for the TMS staff, support resources and improvements. If we see how well the TMS is operating and the operators are performing, that helps us identify where perhaps additional resources are needed and what kind of improvements need to be made, and then also helps to prioritize those improvements. It can also help to adjust job classification and position descriptions, and also help to address workload estimates and schedules, and also your approach to staffing. Next slide, please. So the first step in this overall process is to assess and prepare and then engage with staff and with stakeholders. It's really important, especially when we think about assessing TMS operator performance. It's really important in this step to confirm what the TMS scope is, what the performance objectives are, and what the goals are, because that'll be the basis for how we want to monitor and then assess performance overall. It also helps to identify the TMS functions, services, and actions. All of this together helps to put the right context into what the TMS operators are doing and making sure that the uh, all of the staffing needs and all of the assignments that are going on are in line with what the overall TMS performance objectives and goals are. Next slide, please. So some of the key things to look at is, as we mentioned, identifying TMS functions. Those are things like to detect and verify incidents. Actions include things like confirming incidents, and then services are outside, generally go to outside of the TMS to share information for specific events or incidents, things like that. Next slide, please. So some of the factors that might affect the operator performance include what's the demand? During adverse weather or planned special events, there's much higher operational demand. We need to keep that in mind when we look at the performance measures for staff during those times. Also, what are the job roles and responsibilities? What are their knowledge, skills, and abilities? It's also important to think about the operational policies and procedures and to make sure that the operators are aware of what those are. Next slide, please. So the next two steps in this process are about defining the operator performance measures. And particularly important in here is to define staff performance that are aligned with the TMS operational performance measures, and also to collect data. I'll go into each of those in more detail in the next slides. Next slide, please. So identifying measures to support assessing staff performance. It's important to select those measures to make sure they're linked to TMS goals and performance measures, as I've mentioned a couple of times. Also, to connect the measures and data to your position descriptions. We want to link with requirements and performance measures for the TMS functions. We also want to verify that the measures and the data to be collected can be collected, and make sure that the methodologies are correct. And then we want to identify the data that needs to be collected so that we can do a good job of assessing performance of the operators. Next slide, please. So some of the things that we would want to measure, generally it focuses on things like making sure that each of the subsystems used in the TMS and what they are during normal and emergency situations, things like CMS or closed circuit TV. Also, that there's proper activation so that they're activating on time and they're updating on time, and that they are complete as they do that and accurate. Finally, it's really important to document all of that. And on the right side, it has a few of those types of things that are related to CMS usage. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So there's also, that's kind of the performance in terms of, do we have the capabilities to do the work? Is everybody got the KSAs and things like this? Operator productivity is more about, is the workload is the workload and the staffing kind of in sync, so that we see how many things like how many activations or updates there can be during a shift, and it again, it needs to align with the operational performance measures. And it's really important to take into consideration the variance in activity levels across shifts. Is it during the peak period times, or is it overnight? Productivity would be expected to be different. Uh, and it's important to assess productivity during critical conditions as well as normal conditions. And that's really important because the people who are doing it all want to do a good job. And if there's just not enough staff, or if they're not trained well enough, we want to be able to identify that so that measures can be taken to improve that. Next slide, please. So this last step in this process is probably the one that you might most think of when we think about evaluating performance, because this is where the actual performance assessment occurs. So it develops and implements the monitoring approach. What am I going to do in my TMC to monitor operator performance? What kind of reporting mechanisms do we want to have? And also, uh, how do we incorporate those results into day-to-day management? And I'll go through especially that last one in a little bit more detail. Next slide, please. So when you want to put together your monitoring approach, it's important to look at the performance, the key action for operators to develop and implement a comprehensive performance monitoring approach. That includes real-time oversight, monitoring and reporting operator performance, and then also post-shift reviews. And I've got a slide on each one of those that I'll go through. Next slide, please. So real-time oversight, that's just taking a look at what's happening on the floor as the shift progresses. It looks at what each operator is doing, at least at some level. Next slide, please. And then it's important to review how they've been doing to be able to report on that performance and to have established targets so that you can measure performance against those targets. Next slide, please. So here are some of the examples that may have targets. So for example, if you have safety service patrol, you might want to make sure that from the time that they're aware that the safety service patrol needs to go out there to the time that they're dispatched in less than 2 minutes. You might have a target time for posting CMS messages or updates, things like that. Next slide, please. And then post-shift reviews. Sometimes you call them debriefings, whatever the case may be. Short, focus meetings that allow the supervisor and one or more of the operators to get together and talk about how things went, to really focus on improving future performance from that. Next slide, please. Some of the things to think about when you're assessing performance are, what are your standard operating procedures? And part of that isn't just, are they following those, but are your standard operating procedures really up to date to what conditions are today? So it's a kind of a two-way street. What are the position responsibilities? How's training and development going? If it's contracted out, what are the contractual requirements? All of those things are important to consider in assessment. Next slide, please. Then performance monitoring is very important. So sometimes there's monthly or annual performance reports. Dashboards are important that can show what the error rates are, what the total errors might be, and then also by week or by month of those two. And then all of that can provide input to the performance improvement plans and employee development plans. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, all of this feeds back to all of the other areas. So from assessing performance, we can go back and look at, are we identifying the goals and objectives correctly? Have we looked at the correct knowledge, skills, and abilities? Do we have the right staffing? And we can wrap that into each one of those steps in the process. Next slide, please. So this is I should have gone to the next slide sooner. Anyway, these are again a little bit more detail on the steps to focus on the feedback to earlier steps. Next slide, please. So some of the keys. It's important to ensure that this process is important and is done. The overall performance assessment also supports performance-based contracts if you've got one of those. Probably most importantly, it helps to develop staff capabilities. And then it can help with things like overall productivity, to improve workload estimates, and also to facilitate optimal scheduling of staff and support resources. With that, I think that's my last slide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All of those presentations were excellent. Right now, we're going to open it up to Q&A. If any questions weren't posed during these presentations, some were answered. Hopefully, all of them were answered, I believe. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A pod, and we'll look to get some answers for you. Any questions like any tools or methods that weren't mentioned in any of these, or management's perception? It's not in the Q&A pod, but I think we have a question from Brian. And Brian, is this to anyone in particular, or is it to all the presenters? Okay, to anyone. If anyone would like to answer this question, do you incorporate customer service or stakeholder feedback in TMC performance measurement? I believe Rebecca is typing an answer. Not sure if it's to Brian's question or Johan's question. Johan is a separate question in the Q&A box. Brian, I'm just trying to get yours responded to.
So Rashad, I'll give my opinion on actually both of those questions. As far as I'll start with the recruiting. I don't know if recruiting is as big of the problem, and MaryAnn, you can jump in if you want, but it's more so the retention. We've been having issues retaining employees. In fact, that's one of the things that we're trying to work on to prevent them from jumping on to other, I guess, ventures. And we've got a few ideas. I don't know, MaryAnn, if you want to go into that or not, but staff retention has been one of the biggest issues, because that when you don't retain staff, then you don't develop staff, and then those error rates that we're talking about tend to compound. And before I get to the next one, MaryAnn, if you want to chime in.
Yes. So what we've noticed is that it's not necessarily the recruiting, it's just everybody coming in. Not everyone fully understands what the TMC is or what they do. So when we get people coming in, they're just thinking like, oh, it's just a general job. And then when they realize everything that they have to do, they're just kind of like, this is not for me or whatever. I'm curious to know if there was ever a plan to do like a national certification for the TMCs. That way, everyone understands, like it's a way to get everybody out there understanding like, oh, okay, this is a national thing. So if you're certified in a TMC, you can go anywhere with it. That would be really great. Preferred educational background. We don't limit it to like degrees or whatever, as long as you have a high school diploma or GED. I had no knowledge in TMC at all when I started. I didn't even know my directions on the interstate. And then I just kind of like, I mean, I've had different jobs throughout my life, but I'm obsessed with TMC stuff now. It's like all I talk about, and I try to recruit people. But it's just basically getting the knowledge out of what your TMC does. And we are working on that with all of our other stakeholders and our DOTD customer service, hopefully to get them to kind of do like a little, media blurb on what the TMC is and what we do and how people can apply and go from there.
So, Rashad, the other question from Brian concerning the incorporating customer service or stakeholder feedback in TMC performance measurement. I don't know if it's actually one of our performance metrics, but I know fairly recently, and again, this goes back to the issue with the turnover issue that we've had recently. I went to what I deemed as our internal customers, our PIO, our maintenance contract, as well as just the districts, et cetera, and really solicited feedback. And from that, try to use in our monthly TMC meetings that we hold. That was the basis for discussion. Say, hey, what are we doing with this? I'm hearing this. I'm hearing that. How can we go forward? What type of training is needed to get better?
Piggyback on what MaryAnn was saying, I was a mechanic before I came into TMC operations. I had no idea what I didn't know who put up the signs. Like I knew nothing about this center. So in our recruiting, we're no longer contracted. We're actually all my operators now state, but when they were contracted, and also on our applications now for state positions, we also don't require anything. Like she said, high school diploma, valid driver's license though, because it is emergency operations, and they need to be able to get to these centers when they're needed. But no prior experience is needed for us as well. Just to piggyback off of that. Thank you, Ryan and MaryAnn. Thank you for Rebecca for responding in the pod as well. We do have a few questions that she has responded to as well. Performance measures used to adjust payout or bonuses was posed by an anonymous attendee. Rebecca then responded for WSDOT, that's completely dependent on AECOM, and MaryAnn responded for Louisiana, that is determined by Serco. They use the performance metrics to determine raises. We have another open question by an anonymous attendee in the Q&A pod. Have the performance efforts resulted in incentivizing operators? Actually, it looks like it got answered. Thank you, Rebecca, for responding as well. Have the performance efforts resulted in incentivizing operators to take on ownership of system performance? In other words, not only do performing actions, but looking at it as managing the system to improve safety and mobility for the public and freight. And Rebecca responded, not yet, as our current focus is on providing quality and current information to the public. Our operators are constantly working with our ATMS provider to ensure quality operations of our ATMS. John has posed several questions in the chat, not the Q&A pod. Did I miss his first one? Well, I see. Have any of the states run into issues with staff having the performance monitoring and reporting with agency staff, or are the practices only applicable to the contractors providing these services? If anyone wants to jump in and handle that one, that'd be great. If not, I can't speak on contractors for Maryland because, again, we're all state now. I don't have a contractor. But as far as performance monitoring, I did create a position that handles that. He's my training and certification manager. I have two operations managers. One oversees the statewide operations center. One oversees all of my TOCs, which are the traffic operations centers that are located in our state police barracks across the state. But all of that is being put on the shoulders of my new training and certification manager. We have one open in the pod. Do any other speakers, states have a thought on the managing the system question? I'm not sure which question that is on the managing the system question. Again, if no one else wants to jump in there, I can speak for Maryland. I, myself, and my new training and certification manager speak directly with, we have a proprietary system. Our ATMS was created and is managed in-house and in conjunction with University of Maryland. Their CAT lab is very helpful with that and developing that. So we have meetings every Tuesday, and if anything's brought to myself or my training and certification manager or any one of my managers, they bring it to me or him, and we speak directly with our systems engineers and the person that handles our ATMS personally. Again, in the chat, please try to keep your questions in the Q&A pod. It is a little bit more helpful to keep track of. We have, which is the preferred educational background? I think we touched on that one. We have, in Florida, we have developed an automated software that tracks events that are assigned to operators and the time frame it takes for the operator to move it along to the next phase in the event recording. The software also reminds the operator that an event is waiting to move along to the next phase when it is lingering. TMC management runs reports daily to review how many events were handled by each operator and how each operator was graded. This software was aimed at grading, but also reminding the operators during the course of an event. Is anyone else using this type of automated software? I'd like for anyone to jump in there. That'd be great. I'm not sure that many states are using very automated software there. I think North Carolina might have touched on some a little bit. In Maryland, I'm trying to get our proprietary system to a more automated system. We have made leaps and bounds in that everything is contained into one unit. I've seen a lot of other TMCs have several sections of their ATMS, and they have to work in conjunction. But I have not seen anybody else doing that, like as Florida proposed. Rebecca stated that Wisconsin does not use an automated software that tracks events, which goes along with what my observation has been. I haven't seen a whole lot of other states doing that.
Hey, Rashad, I have a question. I was just curious if any of the other states are using AI in their detection for events. I know that's something we've had companies contact us concerning, but I'm just curious if any of the other states are actually doing it and how they're finding it working.
Great question, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. This is Rebecca from Wisconsin. We're just starting now to look into AI for automatic incident detection. There was a kickoff meeting this past Monday, but unfortunately I had to attend the pre-meeting to this. But I think we are going to be implementing it on, or just for experimental at the time, I think like 20 or 25 different sites. So I can provide some details in the future, but I don't have any information at this time otherwise.
Sure, if you can, definitely get that to MaryAnn or Ty.
Sure, once I know something, or once we kind of have it more deployed and checking in the field, yep, I can provide that information.
Joseph did respond. They're using AID software, automated incident detection software in Florida, and it's being used in several other states. Here in Maryland, we don't have it implemented yet. We are still building it out in some of our ITS devices along a certain section of 695, which encompasses Baltimore, the Baltimore region. There's a section of that, which includes in 2022, there was an incident that was probably almost all the TMSs understand happened with 6 workers in a work zone. But that is our section that includes the new devices that will implement AI and automated incident detection software. They're in that zone. That should be going live next year. We'll see if that happens because the time frame keeps getting pushed back. But yeah, we are planning on that. An anonymous attendee, is there any career path for operators for those who may want to stay? I can speak on that. At Maryland, we have 7 different levels. Our operators are called highway operations technicians by title. You start off as a hot 1, and after a certain amount of time, you can then test up to highway operator 2. We also have highway operations technician 3, which is a team leader. Then the 4th level is a supervisor. And like I said, I as a contractor, I started in 2014 as a highway operations technician 1. I have moved up to supervisor by 2018, manager by 2020, and division chief by 2022. So in Maryland, there's tons of mobility here.
In Wisconsin, we have been, since I've been here, we have been trying to provide different opportunities for our control room operators to promote. I'm going to call it like the lowest levels is going to be the control room operator. Then we've got a lead operator that is also a trainer. Then above the trainer is going to be a QA QC specialist and or a flex lane specialist. And then on top of that, you've got the ship supervisor. And then we just created a new position for assistant manager, which one of the ship supervisors took. So now we've got a ship supervisor position open. So we are trying to make sure that our control room operators have the opportunity to advance when we do have openings.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Any other questions want to be posed in the Q&A pod? Take a couple more minutes for that. Otherwise, there are various places that you can reach out to people. I believe any of these presenters, along with myself, you have our email addresses and you can reach out if you have any questions that follow up once we conclude this session. It's looking like we might be all questioned out. If there are no more questions, I believe we can move on. Thank you very much. Here we have our completed work products from the pool fund study. Things such as managing TMS assets, assessing and reporting on TMS capabilities and performance, predictive analytics. These are all recently completed projects that you can find on the Pool Fund Study website. That address is found below. Thank you, Kyla, for putting that in the chat. All of those reports will be on the completed projects page, and she just put it in the chat there. And it is at the bottom of your screen as well. Our upcoming webinars in this series, again, be on the lookout for these announcements at the NOCO on the NOCO website, and for our upcoming NOCO webinars. If you are interested in being a speaker or moderator or host in an upcoming webinar, please contact John Hochberger. Again, he is our liaison at FHWA for the Pool Fund Study. These are upcoming topics, again, that we'll be touching on moving forward. You can reach out to John Hochberger or Kathy Thompson. They've both been very beneficial in handling these. We can move forward, please. Again, that is the NOCO website. You can find ideas, you can submit ideas, research topics, our TMS portal, as well as plenty of other information that you'll find on the NOCO website under that page. And Kayla, I think we can go to the closing poll.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rashad. I'm gonna put a poll question in here, just asking for any thoughts on future webinars. Okay, share this one. Okay. So just if there's any information, resources, or research conducted that you'd like to see that are not currently available in that TMS portal, you can share some information there. And then if there's any additional TMS emerging topics that you would like to see, just always great to get information collected from everyone who attends these webinars. So we'll just leave that open for a minute or so, and then we'll just wrap up. But I do want to say, thanks so much to Rashad for moderating, and for our panelists, Les Jacobson, Samir Nazarvik, Ryan Reviere, MaryAnn Nickles, Rebecca Klein, and Scott Nauman. Those are really informative presentations, so just really appreciate everyone's attendance and participation today. And then, as I mentioned in the beginning, a recorded version of the webinar will be available on the NOCO website probably in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, just thanks so much for participating today, and stay tuned for future webinars. So I'll leave this poll open. I think we're wrapping up here. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. All the presentations were great. Plenty of questions.
Great. So looks like we still have some answers trickling in here, so I'll just leave it up. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for panelists. Thanks for attending.